All right. Well, thank you and welcome, everyone. It is so good to see so many of you. My name is Mrs. Lanu. I taught the sixth through eighth grade girls who or coding club, and then we also have Mrs. Hart and Mrs. Koenig who taught the third through fifth grade coding club. So I'm sure they see lots of familiar faces as well. We're excited to be here with you guys as we do our first Inspire Her Mind Junior event. We are going to record it, so it's already recording. We are ready to go. So some of our norms that we just want to go over as we are in a virtual event, that all of us are polite. We need to make sure we wait our turn. So if you do have something to say, you can type it into the chat, or you can also raise your hand and wait for us to call on you to respond. We also want to make sure that we are kind and value everyone's ideas as we are going through our experiment. We also want to be respectful. So not only while we're talking or while Mrs. Koenig or myself are talking, we also want to be respectful to those that are in the chat. And the most important, I feel, is we want to make sure we're having fun. So please make sure you guys are enjoying it. If you do have it, Emily, maybe you have that younger sibling who is there that's a first grader, you could have them come over and join you as you guys are doing the experiment. So if you have a sibling, bring them over and you guys can work together to do this. So Inspire Her Mind, we're gonna watch this little video to give you an idea of what this event is all about.
Hi, my name is Crystal Hart, and I'm an Instructional Service Specialist with the Department of Innovation and Learner Engagement. RUSD invites your students to Inspire Her Mind Junior. This is an event that aims to encourage, excite, and inspire all students about the STEM fields. Inspire Her Mind is an annual event for high school students, but this year we are offering an Inspire Her Mind Junior for all elementary students. Here is a glimpse at a previous high school event.
Imagine a scientist. What does a scientist look like to you? A lab coat, yes. Glassware, mixing chemicals in a lab, yes. And the big glasses, sometimes sort of falling or taped. But how many of you guys maybe thought of something different? Like a field biologist like Jane Goodall, or the two astronauts who just did the first ever female spacewalk, Christina Cook and Jessica Meir. But how many of you guys actually pictured yourselves? Not everyone usually does, and this is something that educators often are trying to sort out, is why don't we picture ourselves in this role? Why don't we ever see ourselves as a scientist? When you ask a male or a female your interest in STEM after graduation, half of the guys are gonna say, yeah, STEM is something I'm really interested in, but a fraction of women are actually joining in that same interest. And this sort of then trickles down into the actual workforce. When I actually graduated high school, I was one of those statistics. I did not identify as a scientist. I had no interest in science. I just didn't know what to do with a science degree.
Inspire Her Mind Junior will meet virtually on Monday, March 14th from 3:30 to 4:30. Participants will engage in fun STEM projects, including making rock candy, composting, building a Rube Goldberg machine, and making oobleck, a non-Newtonian fluid. Once you sign up, we will send all of the supplies to
Very good. So you can see that your parents were so gracious as to sign you guys up for this event. So we are excited that you all are here. Okay, sorry, now we're back to it. Okay, so for those of you that forgot, I am Mrs. Koenig. And before we get started today, I'm going to introduce you all to some vocabulary words that are going to be necessary and useful for us when we are finishing or working on our experiment for today. So the first word and the most important word that we're going to talk about is density. And so many of you guys should have had a lesson, let's say when you were in first grade, on sinking and floating. So if you can think back to the science lesson that you had with your teacher in those grades, sinking and floating were very important. And that lesson was actually surrounded around the term density. And density is all about determining how solid something is. All right, and how that's determined is that every object is made up of tiny particles that are called molecules. And let's go back to that last slide. I want to take a look here. If you notice in the center here, you can see how they're all clustered and tight together. But also notice that there are molecules that are outside here that are not so close together. That's very important because if the molecules are very close and very tight together, it's considered to be a solid or considered to be very dense. All right, so I want you to take a look at this image on the screen right now. Does everybody see this penny here? Okay, so what I'm going to do very quickly is I have a poll, and I want you all to help me predict and let me know if you think that this is going to sink or if it's going to float. Okay, so the poll's already up. And the poll is up. Thank you so much, Mrs. Lanu. All right. All right, we have 6 votes. All right, so I see we have 50-some students in there, so please make sure that you are participating with us in this poll. Okay, very good. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll now. And for those of you, it looks like we have 22 votes here that are showing us that, yes, this is actually going to sink. And that is because all of the molecules are close together and it's considered dense and heavy. So therefore, it is going to sink. All right. The next thing we're going to talk about is for those molecules that are far away from each other, this tells us that items like this are less dense or less solid. So here we have an example of a water bottle. So think about it. We're going to do this other poll here, and I would like for you guys to present as well, or I'm sorry, to participate as well in the poll and tell us what your prediction is. Will a water bottle float or will the water bottle sink?
Is the water bottle be full or empty?
Great question. It's empty. Very good question. Very good question. So yes, it looks like most of you guys are saying, those of you that are participating with our chat there, in our poll, it is going to float. That's correct. But that is a great question, as long as the water bottle is empty. Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and continue here. All right, so we're going to describe to you guys a little bit about the format of what this looks like. So all of you guys should have received a bag of supplies at your school. And what we're going to do today is together, we are going to do one experiment. The other experiments, are going to be housed in the Google Classroom, and Mrs. Lanu is going to get into that a little bit deeper. But we are so lucky to partner with UCR, and we had some wonderful tutors who actually helped us with this experiment. So we wanted to introduce you guys to a couple of the tutors who are taking part in this club with us as well.
My name is Allegra, and I'm a second-year neuroscience major at UCR.
And hi, my name is Taya. I'm a second-year environmental science major, also at UCR, and we are members of the CNAS Science Ambassador Program. As science ambassadors, we are student representatives of the College of Natural and Agricultural Sciences and perform outreach for our local community, such as helping out with Inspire Her Mind.
Inspire Her Mind is an annual leadership conference that aims to expose young women to the different fields of STEM. The program wishes to encourage any potential interest you may have in science and give you all the tools you need to pursue an education and eventually a career in STEM. Now, this is one of a series of videos where an experiment will be demonstrated.
So you guys got to meet 2 of the scientists the tutors from UCR who are actually students who are working towards science degrees as well. So in each of the videos that you guys see that are available in the choice board, you will see other students who are presenting as well. And I see that Valeria has a question. Did you want to unmute yourself, hon?
Yes. After we're done finishing the box that we already have, will we get more boxes, or that will be it?
Okay, that's a great question. Yeah. So the kit that you received will give you, I believe it's five experiments, and then once those 5 are done, then you are complete. Okay. All right, Eva, did you have a question? Is it Eva? Eva, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I say it right. Eva, did you have a question, hon?
Yeah, are we gonna do a lava lamp today?
Ooh, great question. Yes, we actually are. Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on as we go. You, hun.
Demonstrate the concept of density in our lamp using 2 liquids, oil and water. Each type of liquid has its own value of density. Water is usually close to 1 gram per milliliter in perfect conditions. This means that 1 milliliter of water will weigh 1 gram, or another way to think about it would be 1 gram of water will take up 1 milliliter of volume. In comparison, vegetable oil has a density of 0.91 to 0.93 grams per milliliter. So water is more dense than oil. When you put water and oil together in a glass, the liquids are considered to be immiscible, or that they're unable to mix together.
In chemistry, we say like dissolves like. Water is polar with positive and negative charges, while oil is nonpolar with neutral charges. Polar substances will want to join other polar molecules, forming hydrogen bonds. Thus, in a glass of water and oil, one liquid will float on top of the other. This is called a heterogeneous mixture, as the mixture is not uniform throughout. Can you guess whether water or oil will float to the top? If you need a hint, remember what we just talked about concerning density.
Okay, so there's a little bit more information on density and how it relates to the experiment that we're going to do. Okay, so now we're actually going to get started working on the experiment. So here's what we're going to do moving forward. If you have a question, please add it to the chat, or let's go ahead and save it to the end so that we make sure that our experiment is flowing evenly. Obviously, unless it's a question that's related to our experiment, make sure you add that to the chat right now, okay? Okay, everyone, so now it's time for us to get started with the experiment. So what we're going to do is we need to start by gathering the supplies that we need. So let me show you what you're going to need, and then I'm going to set a 3-minute timer, and I'm going to allow everyone the opportunity to go and get the supplies that you need, okay? So the first thing that everyone's going to need is a measuring cup. Can everybody see my measuring cup here? Okay. The next thing that you're going to need is some kind of a bottle with a lid. Now, as you can see that Mrs. Koenig has a glass bottle, it does not have to be like this. You could have an empty water bottle or something like that, but just make sure it's something that has a lid, okay? You're going to need water. You're going to need vegetable oil. So you're going to need to raid the kitchen and find some vegetable oil, okay? Now, there is another thing that you can gather, and this is optional. Some of you might have it, and some of you may not, and that is food coloring. And again, remember, this is 100% optional. You do not have to have the food coloring, so don't worry if you don't have that. And then the final thing that you're going to need is inside of our bags. Let Mrs. Koenig grab her bag really quick here. Inside of your bag here, you should have received a little packet with your Alka-Seltzer packet. So please make sure that you take that out. It looks like it's found inside of this little plastic bag. And this is what it looks like right here. Please do not open this yet. Okay, so just have all this material right here next to you. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this slide available right here on the screen. And we're going to give you guys the 3 minutes. Everything that you need is listed right here on the screen, and this slide is not going to go away, okay? We would like for you guys to use Flipgrid as a way for you to tell us how the experiment worked, what you enjoyed, what you found difficult, all those things. So that will be housed in our Google Classroom. But today, what we thought we would do, for those of you that maybe have never used have never used Flipgrid before, we want to give you guys the opportunity to give us a prediction on what you think is going to happen. All right, so we know, I noticed that there were about 6 or 8 of you guys that had already responded to that in the Google Classroom. So thank you guys for doing that already. But for those of you that have never done Flipgrid before, what I'm going to do is right now I'm going to put a link inside of the chat box. And what you're going to do is you are going to follow that link to Flipgrid. And I will model that for you guys. Let me go ahead and put it in there for you. All right, so here is the link. So we are going to go ahead and I want everybody to follow this link and go to Flipgrid. And I'm going to give you guys about 5 minutes to tell us, predict for us what you think is going to happen in our experiment with the supplies that you know that we need. So you know that we're using water, you know that we're using oil, and you know that we're going to use the Alka-Seltzers. So go ahead and take a couple of minutes to tell us what you think is going to happen. So I know some of you guys may not yet be finished with your Flipgrid, and that's okay. What we need to do is we need to move on now and get this experiment finished so that we can enjoy what we wanted to see by the end of our time together today. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn off the slides because I want you guys to be able to see Mrs. Koenig the full screen so that you can experience exactly what it is that we are doing. All right, so for those of you that want to go ahead and pen Mrs. Koenig so that you can see me full screen, we're going to go ahead and do the experiment now. All right, my friends. So what we're going to do is I want everyone to start with your empty cup right here. So grab your empty cup if you have that. If you have not already done so, please get a cup of water in your water. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take the half a cup of water and we are going to pour it into our cup.
Did you say half a cup?
That's exactly right. Yes, a half a cup of water. Yes, great question. So what I was saying is you're going to take this measuring cup, the half a cup, and you're going to pour it into the glass that does not have a lid. And then I want you, if you have food coloring, you can add 3 drops. Remember, it is not necessary to have, but if you happen to find some at home and you want to try it, you can do that. So Mrs. Koenig's going to go ahead and do that because I do have it just to add some fun. And this is something that you could add later if you wanted to. Okay, so notice I added some green. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll add a little bit more just in case. Okay, so here it is. We're going to go ahead and put this cup over to the side and make sure it is out of your way so it does not get knocked over. Okay, so now what we're going to need is we're going to need the glass bottle or the water bottle that has the lid. Okay, so go ahead and get that. You're going to need your measuring cup again. And then you also are going to now need the vegetable oil. So what I want you to do is I want you to take the lid off of whatever you chose, what kind of jar, bottle, whatever it is, glass that you chose that has a lid. And what you're going to do is take that lid off and put that down. Then I need you to take your vegetable oil, and we are going to use 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. All right, so I'm going to take my lid off here, and I'm going to get my measuring cup.
Can you say that again?
Yep, I'm going to show you right now. So just follow along as we go. I'm pouring in 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil. Okay, so it's not quite to the top. All right, does everybody see that? 3/4 of a cup. Okay, very good, very good. Once you've measured out your 3/4 of a cup, we're going to take that glass bottle there, or plastic bottle, whatever it is, but it has to be the one that has the lid. Okay, and we're going to pour the oil into this jar. Very carefully. All right, hopefully you guys can see what Mrs. Koenig is doing okay. All right, then you can go ahead and set your measuring cup over to the side because we're not going to need that anymore. Okay. All right, how's everyone doing? So, good? All right. Oh, we have some questions. Okay, Mrs. Lanu, go ahead and unmute yourself and answer those questions for us. Move on again. So you should have 1 cup, and this is my water. And you can see that this is what I added the food coloring in, and I stirred it up. So this is just the water. Inside of the other jar, mine is big, so this is just my oil. So you can see that I have 2 separate jars. This is the one with the oil that's going to have the lid. Okay, guys, ready to move on for the next step? Okay, very good. All right, so what we're going to do now is we are going to add the water that we have that has food coloring into the oil. Okay, so be very careful when you pour it in. So we're going to slowly pour the water into the oil. Okay, water goes into the oil. So I want you to make some observations of what Mrs. Koenig has. Do you notice the difference between the top layer and the bottom layer? Okay, make some observations there. Does yours look the same? Okay, very good. Now we're going to move on to the next step, okay? All right, so now I'm going to put this down. Make sure it's in a place where it's not going to get knocked over. It is now time for us to grab the Alka-Seltzer packet that you got inside of your Inspire Your Mind bag. Okay, it looks like this. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to crush the tablets, but we're going to do that without opening it. So I have a little example for you. Remember that glass that we used to help us out? If you put this on your table, you lay the packet down without opening it, please don't open it yet, you can crush the tablets that are inside with the glass bottle, okay? So go ahead and take a couple seconds to use your glass to tap that and break up those little tablets. You should have crushed this, all right? So what I want you to do now is I want you to grab the top of it and I want you to shake it so that everything that we just crushed goes down to the bottom, because when we open this, we don't want it to puff out, okay? So just shake it. So for those of you that were able to crush everything, what I need you to do now is I want you to slowly open up your packet, and you'll notice that some of the little powder starts to leak out. So we're going to open up this packet here. And then what we're going to do is we are going to drop the pieces that we crushed into our jar that has the lid. All right, so go ahead and do that now and start making an observation of what we see happening. Okay. All right. As soon as you add all of your Alka-Seltzer, I want you to make sure that you add your lid back onto your jar. Okay. All right. And you might notice, because Mrs. Koenig's making this observation for herself, that I did not crush my Alka-Seltzer enough. So I'm going to go ahead and shake this up and see what it does. Okay. All right. Do we see some fizzing there at the bottom? Okay. Make sure you put your lids on before you shake it. We don't want to mess in the house. Okay. So thank you guys so much for listening and following along. Mrs. Koenig is going to go ahead and turn it over to Mrs. Lanu now.
All right. Well, thank you, Mrs. Koenig. Well, I know you guys are still working on your experiments, but we do have just a short amount of time. So I want to make sure you guys know what you have to do next, because we just did one experiment. So I want to show you the rest of those. So when you go into your, hold on one second. So when you go into Google Classroom, you're going to go into that classwork tab. And when you get into there, those of you who may not have been there yet, we did our virtual event. We had our Flipgrid prediction in there. We also had our slides. We will add the slides. If you were not able to join us or you didn't have something for your experiment, you'll be able to do those then. And then you'll see where it says STEM activities on your own. So we created a choice board for you guys. So when you click on where it says number 1, STEM choice board, you will see something that looks like this. So you have 4 experiments that you guys get to do on your own or with someone at your house. There's a composting, the oobleck, rock candy, and a Rube Goldberg machine. So once you click on one of those, it's going to go to a video. You get to watch the video just like we watched with Mrs. Koenig and those UCR tutors. And then the next slide is going to have what materials you need. So it'll give you the materials, and then it will also give you the steps. So you can watch the steps here, but you can also watch them in the video. The video, they're going to walk you through step by step how to do that. Once you guys are done with your experiment, we want to see what you guys are doing. Okay, so there is a share your project. So even with your lava lamp you guys just made, if you want to share with us your lava lamp, you can go on, you can click on this Flipgrid video link. Mrs. Koenig will also put that in the chat if you don't mind. The Flipgrid video to give us what it is you guys did, maybe what was difficult, what was exciting, what did you observe as you were doing your experiment. So all the fun things that each one of those are. There are 4 experiments in our choice board. You do not have to do all of them. We would like for you guys to try to finish those up by March 27th. That way we can get some feedback to you guys in that Flipgrid classroom and you guys are able to interact with each other. If you don't finish all of your projects by then or one of the projects, that's okay. You can still do them any other time, but we want to make sure we can get you guys that feedback and interact with you guys on our Flipgrid as well. So I know there are lots of hands that are up. We'll go through those. We only have a few short minutes, but if you guys do have any questions, you can put them in the chat. But I will just go through those of you that have your hands raised for any questions that you have.
Will we meet again, or will we do all the other ones like by ourselves?
Yes, you guys will do all of the rest of the experiments independently, but there are videos in the Google Classroom that will show you exactly what you're going to do for each experiment. And if you get stuck or if you have a question, you can reach out to Mrs. Lanu or myself at any time. Okay? All right, let's see. Isabel, did you have a question? Okay, well, if not, we are so grateful for all of you guys that came and joined us today. We hope that you had fun, and we are so excited that you guys are taking part in the very first Inspire Her Mind Junior STEM Academy. We are so excited that you guys are here. Thank you for participating. You will get responses from Mrs. Lanu and I to your Flipgrid, so please make sure that you guys fill those out as well. And again, if you have any questions, you can email either one of us at any time. Okay, and the slides will be located in the Google Classroom for you to go back if you need our email address or if you want to try this again with some of your other family members, you're more than welcome. Okay, you guys, so thank you so much. And if there's no other questions, you guys have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Nathaniel.
I really loved what we did today.
Good. I'm glad you had fun, honey. We're so glad you were here.
Bye.
Sarah, do you have a question?